What's up, friends? Today we are here to test out some more Mad Esk8 wheels. In the past, I've done a couple videos on Mad Esk8 wheels, including reviews, and that would be on the V1 Mad Esk8 105, the V2 Mad Esk8 105, and the Mad Monster wheels, or Mad Max, I think they're called, the 125's. All of them were great. I love Mad wheels. They're probably my favorite urethane wheel on the market, and they've brought us another offering, albeit in a smaller size. So this will be an interesting video today to compare my thoughts on the bigger wheels versus these small ones. I think a lot of people were asking for this size for a while because they want the skate feel and the ability to run it on shorter boards without having wheel bite, but still getting the ability to absorb bumps through those holes in the back of the wheels, which are so characteristic for the Mad Esk8 wheels, formerly boosted 105's. However, Mad has gone way off of where boosted originally was with a whole slew of new offerings. So props to Mad for introducing a new wheel. Today, we're going to be testing it out on the Atlas Pro, for which I had to create my own adapter. These two-stage gear drives don't have a Kegel adapter for some reason, so someone actually made one online that was pretty close to what I needed, so I downloaded that and modified it to fit. These have screws going through the wheel into that adapter, which then attaches to the gear drive. The Gladius actually comes with it, and thank you to OMW for sending this board to do some videos on. You guys will see a first ride on that soon, but it happened to have the 92s on it, so I thought this was a good opportunity to test both in one first impressions video. So we'll do half the video on the Atlas Pro, which I might add is going to be a ridiculous burnout machine because this is like a 3.9 ratio with 90mm wheels. I think it tops out at like 20 miles an hour, so that's going to be ridiculous. On here, it'll be more proportionate, and I think it'll be a good test, so let's jump into riding. What's up, friends? Today we are here with a very unique setup on the Atlas Pro. We've got the brand new Mad Esk8 92mm wheels on here. And man, this is a fun setup with my riptide bushings because you can really test the grip of these wheels. And I'll tell you, for a 90mm wheel, they're pretty dang grippy. And without looking like a complete crazy person, I'll try to show you some carving today because that's what this board really is. It certainly excels at carving. Not something that I would consider excelling at straight line stability. Granted, part of that's due to my bushing choice, but the other part is the fact that it's a DKP board, and in my opinion, that's generally what those boards should be used for. So DKP plus little grippy urethane wheels, kind of a fun setup, and it's not really something that I use very often. And I don't really think that I would recommend this setup on your Atlas Pro because, for one, I had to make a custom adapter just to use these wheels on my two-stage gear drives, which I might add are like the only thing that I have that can fit these wheels because they're so small. So I created the adapter partly from a file that I found online and then modified a little bit to fit the Atlas Pro. But that's what brings us to this today. And like I said at the beginning, we're going to test these wheels on the Gladius as well, which is something that they're definitely more designed for. Definitely more of a belt drive wheel than a gear drive wheel, which I feel like is understandable given their size. I don't really see most people wanting to have a big gear drive and then have tiny little wheels on it, which is exactly what this setup is. But, you know, there are a couple boards out there that have setups like this. The Meepo Voyager Pro, or is it Meepo Voyager X? Something like that. Has gear drives. There is the Lawrence Maverick, which I don't think is released yet still, but that was supposed to have a gear drive version. I think Esk8 has a small board with gear drives as well, but me, I do not. My efficiency test board that you guys have seen many times actually does not fit these wheels because the belt drives hit the ground. And I'll show you real quick. Hopefully the 360 cam will cooperate here, but on the underside, we're actually already scraping like crazy. You can see some scrapes on that right-hand gear drive, and that's sort of the consequence of having these tiny wheels on here. It's not really designed for it, but as long as you have smooth roads and as long as you avoid uneven surfaces, you can make it work. Now, the other downside for the moment on this exact setup is that our maximum speed is only about 20 miles an hour. So for me, it almost feels unsafe to ride a board that slow on streets, but you can get by if you're careful and stay on bike lanes or on sidewalks and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Anyway, the point of this video is to talk about these wheels, not about the board setup, but I figured it was important since these are sort of outside of the normal Thane range that I would see on premium boards today, and that was another smack to the gear drives. I guess this is sort of a durability test of the gear drives at the same time. But in any case, what I'll tell you from my first like 10 minutes of riding experience is these are really impressive. Not only is the grip really there, like these are probably the grippiest 90 mil that I've ever tried. They feel really good. But the comfort is surprisingly good as well. This is not a wheel size that I normally ride, so I'm not super familiar with how good like Kagwamas and Boas are in this size. But when you compare this to like 100 millimeter wheels, it's not that far off. It's a little bit off from the 105's for sure. Like obviously they're not going to perform as well as the bigger wheel. And on top of that, you obviously have more ground clearance with the bigger wheel. But they're surprisingly comfortable. Definitely more comfortable than I expected. Even over like cracks and bumps and stuff, they really are doing a great job of absorbing a lot of the impacts. Really impressed so far. One thing I will say is people complain about the whirring sound, the sort of vibration. Well, it's very much here on these. I think it's partly due to my deck, which is, you know, carbon fiber, but a lot of vibration comes through, even with those small voids in the back of these wheels. And I think it's just because they aren't absorbing quite as much, they aren't flexing as much, so you sort of feel the, well, I guess they're still flexing a decent bit. You sort of feel the deflection between the two holes, or each set of holes that's touching the ground. I'm assuming that's what's creating that whirring sound. But in any case, you can definitely feel it on here. Not as much on asphalt as I could on concrete. When we were back there at the park, I was doing those circles around the tree, and you can definitely feel the vibrations of the wheels. I don't really think it's a big deal though. People make a big deal out of it online from time to time, and I don't really understand it. It's sort of this another feeling to the board. It's not really like detracting from the experience, at least for the way I ride. So take from that what you will, but for me, this sound, you might be able to hear it over my gear drives, I'm not sure. But this sound is not really a big deal to me. We gotta get out of the street because there's people coming, and I can only go 20 miles an hour. So I'll be interested to see how these feel in the Gladius, to see if the flexible deck makes a big difference on how much vibration you feel. But, goodness, the rest of the aspects of the wheel that I usually test, the impact absorption, the vibration absorption, so far they all feel very similar to the 105's, which is not really what I expected. I kind of expected these to feel harder by a good bit and have a lot of the bumps come through, but they're really quite similar. And if you have a board that you can't put the bigger wheels on, something like a short board that doesn't have big cutouts for wheel bite, these are a great option to get you, like, at least in my experience so far, 80 to 90% of the experience of the 105's. All right, well, I think I have felt all that I wanted to feel on the Atlas Pro so far. I did start to feel some wobbles when I got up to max speed there, and I'm not really very fond of that. So I don't know if that's a bushing setup problem or an Atlas Pro finickiness, but we're gonna switch over to the Gladius now and see what I think on there. Number one, super grippy. Number two, pretty great comfort. So let's see if that carries over to the Gladius. I think it will. I think the Gladius will be even better because we aren't limited to such a low top speed. But man, these are grippy things. Stop for a moment to take some pictures, but I've actually switched up to the sidewalk here to see how it feels on these sidewalk cracks. And I gotta say, it feels quite good. These wheels plus the deck almost completely absorb them. Like, obviously you still feel the bump, but it's not violent at all. It just kind of gets soaked up.
And that right there pretty much describes my experience on the 92mm wheels so far, at least on the Gladius. They really do quite well, and while it's hard to say exactly how much better they are than a normal 90mm wheel, I definitely feel like they have better impact absorption and just better comfort overall than a solid wheel. Obviously there's some amount of diminishing returns on the size to hole ratio, but at least for this setup it worked pretty well, and on the Gladius it just adds to a already comfortable ride on the flexible deck. Now, the whirring sound, vibration is still there. I still don't think that it's a real problem, but you can hear it, especially in clips like this one, and it's not really that annoying to me. So if you look at that as a downside, then I guess these wheels aren't for you, but for most people I think they won't mind it. My main thing that I really love about these wheels is how grippy they are. They're really just really high quality urethane, and in the time that I spent on the Gladius I could tell because it was more of a shortboard style setup, and when you carve on shortboards it tends to turn the trucks a lot more than on a board like the Atlas Pro where it has a longer wheelbase. So overall the experience on the Gladius was equal to, if not better than on the Atlas Pro in terms of overall ride feel. That pretty much concludes all I have to say about these wheels for the moment. I'm going to keep riding them for a bit longer and probably do a full review on them in a couple months, but the reality is they're just a really good 92mm wheel, and they split the difference between a small wheel like an 80 something and a larger wheel like a 105 or 110. So if these work for your board, I think they're an instant buy. I don't have a discount code or anything, but you can find the link for them in the description, and let me know what you guys think. I think this is a great thing to add to the Mad Esk8 collection and opens up a lot of short boards to a nice smaller wheel.